February 13th, 2014. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 40 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and with me, as usual, is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
We had a pretty good weekend up at the old casino.
We finally had a real nice weekend.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, recently, and by recently I mean like the last year.
Yeah, right.
Things haven't gone very well for us at the casino. But this last week was a very nice, relaxing night. We were never really in trouble.
No, it's always good when your initial buy-in is never in danger.
Right.
You're never even close to rebuying.
Right. Neither one of us were in that situation. Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
So we have some stories from it. So again, this was up at Harrah's Rincon, which is our local casino here that we frequent. And we want to start by reminding listeners about a story that we talked about on the podcast a while ago. Some new listeners probably haven't heard it before. But quite a while ago, might have been in the 1990s, we were in Vegas, and we were playing at a craps table, and there were some guys at the other end of the table, like buddies, probably in their 20s.
Mid-20s.
Yeah. And they were having a good time. And whenever one of them was shooting the dice, the others called him Lee Harvey.
Yeah, the funny thing is, the first time we heard it, we thought maybe that was the guy's name or his nickname. But then when the next guy started rolling, they started calling him Lee Harvey.
Right. So every time, come on, Lee Harvey. Come on, you roll the 6, Lee Harvey. And we thought that was a riot. Yeah. We got such a kick out of that. So over the years, every once in a while at the craps table, we'll say, come on, Lee Harvey. Yeah. Roll the 10, make your point, that kind of thing. All right. So this last weekend we're playing, and one of the dealers is named Mario.
Right.
And Elena, also another one of the dealers, inadvertently called one of the players Mario. Right. Said, oh, that's your bet, Mario. Just messing up.
His name is Ray.
Right.
She called him Mario.
Right. So we were kind of laughing about that. And pretty soon we're saying, come on, Mario, roll the dice,
And
roll the 6.
Funny thing is, he had a really good roll.
Yeah.
He had a really good roll, and we called him Mario the whole way. Come on, Mario.
Right. So, when it's a good roll and everybody's having a good time, it's fun to do stupid things like that, right? So we kept saying, come on, Mario. And, when he finally sevened out, oh, good roll, Mario. That's good. All right. Who's next? Mario?
Yeah. And the next guy was this old guy who couldn't crack a smile if his life depended on it. We just got off a big winning roll, and he's just stone-faced. And, and I'm like, come on, Mario. Your turn now, Mario. Let's go, Mario.
So everybody was kind of getting a kick out of it. And as the dice went around the table, sure enough, every shooter was Mario. And the dealers were getting into it, right? Yeah. That's $17 to Mario in the hook.
Yeah.
That's $17 to Mario, 2 from you, right? So it's going around the table. No, Mario.
It lasted until we finally got a roll that we had about 3 or 4 good rolls in a row there.
It was not bad.
And then finally there wasn't a good roll. So then we kind of dropped the Mario.
Yeah, suddenly then it's not as fun when the dice get cold. So eventually the dice got around to Mike. And so Mike picked up the dice, and I said, all right, have a good roll, Lee Harvey. And so that I thought, he thought I was going to call him Mario, and instead I called him Lee Harvey. So we were
dealers are like, Lee Harvey.
Right. So we're getting a kick out of that. Well, you started rolling the dice, and you had a great roll.
I had a good roll.
It was around a half hour. And so, the Lee Harvey thing became a big thing at the table. Right. Again, the dealers, everybody, come on, Lee Harvey, roll your point.
That one dealer, I can't pronounce his name.
Oh, I can't remember. His name either.
It's got a hard name.
Yeah.
But he said Lee Harvey every time. All right, Lee Harvey, let's go, Lee Harvey.
He was the stick, right?
He was the stick.
The dice.
Oh, God. It was funny.
So, you had a great roll.
Yeah.
30 minutes. Now, I'm looking at the clock, and it's getting to be about 9 o'clock, and I was hungry.
We hadn't eaten.
Yeah, and I was next to shoot, but I said, "No, Mike, I'm not going to shoot. Let's just go to the buffet. Let's go. I'm hungry." And so Mike was saying, no, you've got to shoot. No, let's go to the buffet. So finally.
It would have been a good time actually to cash out because we were ahead.
Yeah, it was
after a big roll like that.
Well, you won the fire bet, just 4 numbers on the fire bet.
Right.
You actually rolled a total.
I made 7 points.
7 points, right.
Right.
4 distinct numbers. I think what was left? The 6 and the 10?
6 and the 10. I couldn't come out on 6.
Yeah. And you
hit
rolled
a bunch
an 8
of hard
like 3 times.
Yeah.
So it was a great roll. 7 points. I mean, anytime you roll 7 points is going to be a good roll. So finally you convinced me, all right, I'll go ahead and shoot.
Come on, Lee Harvey.
I'm Lee Harvey this time, right? So we're rolling, and you said something like, yeah, Lee Harvey's a good shooter. And it's like a light bulb went off above our heads.
You could have actually seen the light bulb go off. I mean, it's
like, oh, of course. That's why they were saying Lee Harvey to each other, because Lee Harvey's a good shooter.
All these years,
we just thought it was funny. Oh, Lee Harvey.
Calling someone Lee Harvey,
right?
It's like, but Lee Harvey's a good shooter.
Lee Harvey's a good shooter. Oh, my gosh. So sure enough, Lee Harvey was a good shooter because I held the dice for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Those back-to-back rolls like that.
And you rolled a lot of hard ways.
I only made 3 points.
Right.
But the whole, it was just numbers in between like crazy. Oh, yeah. That was great.
Yeah. And then we left and went and ate dinner.
And then we said we got to go, right?
Yeah.
And then we got to the buffet, and it turned out the buffet was staying open late that night.
Right.
So we could have, stayed at the table if we'd wanted to, but I was hungry, so I'm glad we went over.
And
there.
the good thing is when we hold our spot at the table.
Right, yeah.
So when we came back, all of our chips are there, these big racks full of chips, and everyone's, you picked a good time to leave.
Yeah, apparently while we were gone, what, half hour?
Yeah, half hour
like that.
Or so.
It was really cold.
Bad.
Yeah.
And we came back and it warmed up again.
Yeah, I made money on that second session,
right.
and then we left. So great night. Just really had a good time. We've got actually some more stories from that craps table that we will talk about in our bonus audio. So if you download our app, you'll get some extra stories about some uncomfortable situations.
There was one really bad situation
at the craps table. So download our app. You'll be able to listen to that bonus audio. So there's a small casino here in the San Diego area called Santa Isabel Casino, and they recently closed. My understanding is that they actually tried to file for bankruptcy, and the judge denied it.
Yeah. They were $50-some million in debt.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Terrible. Yeah. And, again, a kind of a small casino. Now, it got me kind of thinking. Now, Dr. Mike, you're pretty much the star of this podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Because when they don't tune in and think, oh, what's Mark going to say this week? They're thinking, what's Dr. Mike going to say?
What kind of controversy am I going to...
What story is he going to say? Is he going to be funny? What kind of doctor is he?
Yeah.
What did his dad do? And speaking of which, your dad, remind me, I want you to tell the story about your dad and the coupon the other night. What he said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But see, we should change the name of this podcast to just, you can bet on that with Dr. Mike. You're the star of the show, right? And I accept that. Now, having said that.
All right. My girls are going to love to hear this.
Having said that, had you ever gone to the Santa Isabel Casino?
Well, interestingly enough, I have not been inside the casino, but I was in the parking lot of the casino.
You're in the parking lot. Okay.
Yeah, we drove up there. This casino is out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, most of the casinos around here are, but this one in particular.
This one in particular is really on a road to nowhere. And we had some family in town. And, for those of you that are familiar with San Diego, it's near Julian, which is kind of a little touristy town up in the mountains.
Yeah, quaint town.
It's kind of fun to go up there.
Apple pie. They've got a soda fountain,
right,
old style soda fountain. Yeah.
So we went up there to show them Julian, and on the way we pulled into San Isabel because we saw the sign, and I had never been there,
right.
But my kids were with me, and there was a big group of us. It was like 9 of us in the Suburban, and so we just drove by the front door. We drove in the parking lot, by the front door, and down the hill again. Okay. So no, I've never been there. So
all right. So you never went to a local casino, Santa Isabel Casino. How in the world can you call yourself the star of this show?
Well, I'll tell you what. That's why it went out of business. Had I been there, they might have not been 50 million in debt.
That might be true. I went there.
I'll take full responsibility for them.
See, I just ride on your coattails. Everybody knows that when it comes to going to the casino in Vegas and everything. But I went to San Isabel. I did my duty.
I feel bad. Well, it's still there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the doors are closed, but it's still there.
It's still there.
I'll try and get in.
Maybe we'll break in.
Yeah.
It was small. Yeah. I mean, there was nothing special about it. It had a few table games.
Right. It had 150 slot machines.
Yeah.
You got more than that in this house.
Their problem was their location.
Yeah.
By far.
Terrible location.
So, all right. So tell the story about your dad the other night with his free play coupon.
Oh, I should mention that we were out there with my dad and a good friend of ours, Mary.
Yeah.
And we all won for the night. Mark and I played craps.
Yeah.
Mary played Pai Gow and some slots.
Yeah.
And my dad played slots and a little 3-card poker.
Yeah.
And we all won. It was like a night where we all just, things went our way.
Oh, and this, right? And I'll let you get to the story. But earlier that day, I woke up and went online to try to buy Comic-Con tickets.
Right.
Comic-Con is here in San Diego, right? And so I was able to get on, one of the first ones on, and I got all 4 days Comic-Con tickets for me and my son and my wife. Yeah. So we're going to Comic-Con. I tweeted about this. And Al from San Diego, who's a frequent contributor to the 500 podcast, he said, "Oh, you need to parlay this good luck, in Vegas."
Must have worked.
And I'm thinking, well, I can't go to Vegas, but let's go out to the casino. Oh, yeah, it worked. I think that was it. It started out good.
What are we going to do this weekend to keep our luck going?
I don't know. We'll have to think of something. Saturday morning.
Yeah, we need something, definitely. Yeah. It's first day of softball for my daughter, so.
Well, maybe that'll be good.
Maybe I'll get hit in the head by a foul ball or something.
But we parlayed that. Every one of us won at the casino that night. Yeah.
So we're going in the casino, and Rincon has a promotion thing, where they give you free play. And it seems like we get, definitely this month of February, we have free play every single day.
Every single day, there's some kind of free play.
There's some kind of free play giveaway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, we had been going on Friday nights because that turned out to be the night we had the most free play.
Right.
But for February, there's a free play on Sunday as well as the Saturday. So we've been going on Saturday night and then stay till midnight. And then after midnight, we can get the Sunday free play too.
Right.
So we're walking in and my dad's got all of his coupons and he looks at me and he says, "I'm going to see if they'll take this Friday one."
From the day before that had already expired.
It already expired. It's only good for that day.
Right.
And I'm like, "Dad, they're not going to take Friday. It's Saturday." And he looks at me and says, "Oh, I'm just going to pretend I'm old and don't know any better and see if they'll take it." The guy is as sharp as can be. I mean, he's as smart now as he's ever been in his whole life. Uh-huh. But, he's playing that old guy confused thing. And Mark and I are just cracking up. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how many people do this? How many old people do that,
I'm confused.
How does that work?
What do you mean? It says free money.
You do that enough, eventually they're just going to take it. Just take the money. Come on. Get out of here.
Oh, that's so fun. Pretend like I'm old and don't know what I'm.
Yeah. And I looked at Mark and I said, "Yeah, pretend like you're old. You're almost 88. You're old. Okay." Well, they didn't give him the free play from Friday.
No, they didn't.
They know better. They see him there all the time.
Well, the cashier can't do it. They have to run it through a scanner, right?
Yeah, they have to run it through a scanner.
Yeah, they can.
He actually said that the guy ran it through the scanner, not even looking at it.
Sure.
And then it beeped and told him, oh, this is the wrong day.
Yeah.
But, oh, yeah. Yeah, he's probably pulling scams at Coco's and Denny's and who knows.
That's right. Did I get the senior discount? Oh, didn't they give it to you? Let me apply it. And then to the next waiter, I don't think I got my senior discount. Oh, let me apply it.
Speaking of which, I'm eligible for that now.
Oh, let's not even talk about it. All right. I get stuff in the mail. Let's drop it. All right. Did you have a good Super Bowl?
Yeah, it was a terrible game.
I hated that game. I've never been so angry about a football game because I didn't care who won.
No, I didn't either.
Really didn't.
I didn't either. And like I said on the last podcast, I root for the same thing every time, overtime.
Yeah.
And 4 minutes into the game, I realized there's going to be no overtime.
Oh my gosh. Just wanted a good game. I think there's something fundamentally wrong with the game of football where two champions from two conferences can come together and it can be that bad and a lopsided of a game. Oh my gosh.
Denver never showed up.
They didn't.
And Seattle showed up big time.
Yeah.
I mean, they wanted to win that game. So,
well,
what are you going to do?
I know exactly. Related to the Super Bowl, we saw this article where up in Washington State, the Gaming Commission is investigating a 40-year-old man who was running a 100-square Super Bowl pool.
That's terrible.
And I'm sure most listeners are familiar with this, but there are 100 squares. You make 100 squares and you sell each square for a certain same amount of money. And once all the squares have been sold, then you randomly assign single digits to the rows and columns representing the ones digit of the score for each team. Right. So, Denver would be maybe on the top line. And
you were good if you had 0 for them.
That's right. At least for the first half.
Yeah.
So if you'd have, 0 through 9, for up top with Denver for all the columns. And then on the side, you'd have Seattle and 0 through 9 for all the rows. And those 0 through 9s are randomly assigned. It's not like just 0. So I'm sure most listeners are familiar with it. Okay. Well, this guy was running a $100 a square pool.
Now, this isn't Steve Stevenson, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because they didn't say, they just said 40-year-old man. There was no name listed here. So $100 a square, that's $10,000 for the pool. Well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, that is a lot of money.
But here's the thing. They're investigating, and there's no prosecution yet at this point. They're going to finish the investigation and then decide whether charges are going to be pressed. I guess they sent it to the DA. But unlicensed gaming like this is a Class B felony in Washington State. Okay. Here are some issues.
Washington State has a gaming commission.
Yeah, they do.
They have a gaming commission.
They have a gaming commission. And get this. This is pretty funny, too. It says only boards of up to $1 are allowed in the state. So
$1 a square or $1 the whole board.
If you read this article, the way it's written, it's a penny a square.
Oh, God.
Okay, but let's just assume it was $1 a square. Yeah. It's actually in the law that's allowed, but anything greater than that's not allowed. So technically, this guy was breaking the law.
Now, I would like to know when that law was written because, in 1700, there's been a little inflation.
Yeah, that's right.
If it was written in 1750 or something, there's been some inflation.
That's right. And I'm sure that since 1750, the 100-square Super Bowl pool has evolved quite a bit also. So again, a 10,000, that's a lot of money. But here's the thing. They had a picture of his, on the article I saw, they had a picture of the board.
Right.
And it showed what the payouts were going to be. $2,000 each for the first 3 quarters and then $4,000 for the final score of the game.
That's a good way to do it.
That is good. That's a total of $10,000. This guy was not taking any money out of this pool.
Right.
He was not benefiting from it, financially.
He was just entertaining his friends.
Right. And so somebody ratted on him, number one. Yeah. I don't know how, I don't know if this was like in a pub somewhere. Or
ex-wife.
Or maybe it was after the fact somebody lost.
Yeah, it could be.
And went to the authorities, right?
Somebody who had Denver for 7, like I did. That's right. It's worth nothing.
But I think it's terrible if they prosecute. Yes, it's a lot of money. But I think, especially since he's not benefiting from it.
Right.
Right.
I'll tell you what. Here's my thing about that. There are so many bad things in the world that you should be focusing on. Why put your effort into prosecuting a guy who entertained his friends, right? What about feeding some hungry people or helping kids that have disabilities? There's a lot of things you can do with your time.
They've got a gaming commission. It's a law on the books. They have to follow up on it. I'm just hoping the prosecution just says, looks at it and says, we're not going to prosecute. He didn't make any money off it. Right.
And then immediately after that, somebody in the Washington State, Congress or Senate there should pass a bill getting rid of that.
Get this. I've got to read this paragraph. The sports pool boards are the only type of sports betting allowed in the state. The sports pool boards are the only type of sports betting allowed in the state. They actually have it in the law that that's allowed.
Up to $1.
It says up to $1. And it goes on to say bracket pools office sports pools and fantasy sports have never been authorized as gambling activities in Washington state and are illegal. So football pools, the weekly football pool, those are all illegal, but you can have a $1 sports pool board. That's allowed.
So you mean some guy in his office, he's got like 6 coworkers in some small office,
right?
And they throw in $5 a piece and pick the winners every Sunday. That's illegal.
Right. That's illegal, but you can, anyway, $10,000. Yeah, it's a lot of money. I'd be scared to be that guy handling that kind of money,
right,
and having a pool.
Right. That'd be the bad part is,
right.
And somebody may be getting upset that.
You see, that's the other problem
happened.
too. If you're trying to sell 100 squares, you may be selling to people that you don't know.
Right.
And that's,
right. And you most likely are.
Right. And that actually is pretty bad when it comes to sports pools. And I'm kind of that way too. We just have a small football pool, but I never let anybody in that I don't know. Or if a friend says, "Oh, can my buddy, join?" Well, no, I don't know him.
Yeah.
I know you know him, but I don't know him.
It saves a lot of controversy is what it does. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, when I've done pools, when I've had a football party, a Super Bowl type party and done a pool, I'll sell 100 squares, and usually, you make it $5 or $1.
Yeah, $1.
Because, you've got 25 people at your house or something. You're hoping that people buy 2 or 3 squares.
Right.
But if they don't, I buy all the rest.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
So if I sell 40 of them, I've got $60 in that pool.
Yeah.
I just buy all the rest, so they're all sold.
Yeah.
So if if you had one for $100 a square.
Yeah, you can't make up
if I had to buy 60 of them, it's me,
yeah.
And then not win.
Right. Even though you've got, most of the squares. Yeah, that's right. Well, they didn't post this guy's name, thank goodness, but hopefully he avoids prosecution.
Yeah,
here.
my advice to the Washington State Gaming Commission is pull your head out. That's it. If anyone out there listening lives in Washington State, pass it on. Pull your head out.
Washington State was one of the first states to make online poker illegal before Black Friday, right? When we were all playing on Full Tilt and Poker Stars, you couldn't do it in Washington. That was also a felony.
Now, Washington, though, isn't Seattle in Washington?
Yeah.
Aren't they pretty liberal in Seattle?
Pot's legal there now too. I
don't
know what it is
it's
about
a state
gambling.
where you can smoke marijuana, but you can't have an office football pool.
Yeah.
Those bastards.
Yeah. All right. We got some more complaining coming up. We got an email from listener Jacob. I want to read to you what happened. He said, "What I wanted to discuss was the Total Rewards program. My first experience with Total Rewards was at the Horseshoe Casino in Tunica, Mississippi. Did you go there?
No, I've never been there.
You went to New Orleans, didn't you?
New Orleans.
Okay, but not Tunica.
But one of the dealers out at Rincon, Sherry, she dealt at Tunica.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So Jacob goes on, I signed up for the rewards and played dice for about an hour and a half. When I got done shooting, I colored up and they offered me a complimentary buffet without even asking. The staff was very nice and quick with the cocktails. So good story. Yeah. I had a similar experience years ago at Harrah's in Las Vegas when I stepped up to the craps table with my mom and my sister, and they were just watching me, and I was playing just $5, played for maybe a half hour. I said, could we get a meal? And the guy said, absolutely, and gave us all three, a meal just at the coffee shop, right? So a good experience. All right, so Jacob goes on. Now, most recently, my friend and I spent 3 nights at Caesar's Palace last weekend, and the Total Rewards was very disappointing to say the least. After all 3 nights of buying very expensive drinks and meals and playing craps only in Total Rewards casinos, they did not give out one complimentary meal or anything else. We played craps our second night for 3 hours, betting very high, and when I asked for a buffet, they told me that they no longer gave out complimentary meals. I think they were lying to him. They don't give out complimentary meals?
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like the pit guy they have to fill out some paperwork to give you a comp meal.
Yeah.
Because you can use your Total Rewards points.
Right.
He probably didn't want to fill out the paperwork.
Yeah.
And because they still do that.
Of course they do. Yeah.
They still do that.
Yeah. So I can't believe that they told Jacob that. So anyway, Jacob goes on. To add to the experience, the staff was not as cheery and the cocktails took an average of 30 minutes to come around. After all was said and done, the only thing I got out of the weekend was a little over $6 to subtract from my room bill.
Well, that's interesting, $6, because either A, he wasn't betting as much as he thinks, or he wasn't being rated as much as he thinks, or B, and most likely, this is the most likely scenario, he wasn't being rated correctly because I have noticed, and especially at Caesar's Palace, and I'm a big, Caesar's fan.
Yeah.
We always stay there.
Yeah.
And Harrah's, I love Harrah's, I love Caesar's.
Yep.
I love all the Total Rewards places, but I will say this. Sometimes, especially at Caesar's, they don't rate you like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
You buy in, and since they got rid of Boxman.
Right.
There's nobody right there at the computer. It used to be the boxman had the computer right next to him.
Yeah.
You'd buy in, he'd put in your info and everything, how much you bought in for, and he'd watch your betting. Well, they don't have boxmen anymore.
It's just a pit walking around between several tables.
Yeah, usually a couple tables. Mm-hmm. And if you buy in and they're busy and they're talking to somebody, they don't register that. You might be there for a while before it even gets registered, and then they may not be paying attention to what you're betting.
Yeah.
And I personally think that your first few bets is what they rate you on.
Right. So if you're increasing your bet,
right.
Like during a hot roll or something like that, they don't notice that.
They don't notice that. It seems to me like right when you start, okay, he's betting $5. Well, he's a $5 player. Oh, he bet a quarter on the line. He's a $25 player. Yeah. And they rate you from there.
Yeah.
Because plenty of times I've noticed, I buy in and for whatever reason you start slow, the guy next to you tells you the table's cold or it's just, be careful. This has been real dicey here. So you start off slow. You don't get as good a rating.
Yeah. It's
even though later, 10 minutes later, you might be on a hot roll. You might increase your bet.
You got a lot of money out there. Yeah. Well, and we've talked about this many times on the show too, how inconsistent they are with table game rating anyway.
Right.
With slots, it's easy. You put your card in, it's all electronic,
right? The computer
right?
knows.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a shame the way he was treated at Caesar's Palace. And I think this is real indicative of why people love Total Rewards and hate Total Rewards.
Right.
Caesar's is a big company. And
well, the thing is, because it's so good, you kind of expect more.
It's the reason that we like it so much, and we've talked about it, is because the Harrah's by us gives us way more comps than any of the other casinos around here, and we can use them in Vegas. You can use them at multiple locations. But for sure, the service that you get through Total Rewards can vary tremendously between properties.
Right.
And I responded to Jacob and told him that and said, you basically have to stick with the properties where you're treated well. Right. And in Las Vegas, we have been treated well, I think, at Planet Hollywood, usually at Harrah's.
Caesar's has treated me well.
Caesar's has been, but then Flamingo, Paris, not so much.
Not so much Paris for me.
No, for whatever reason, just as a players, in a Total Reward standpoint, we don't. So, again,
it probably depends on who you're dealing with, the pit at that moment. Now, at Harrah's out here, Rincon, we have an excellent host.
Yeah.
I mean, he's excellent.
Yeah.
I have to say, of all the hosts I've had over the years in different places, the best ever. Because he's very attentive.
Yeah.
And
he always says hello to us and
and ask if we need anything and stuff. But other people might have a different host that might not give them that kind of treatment.
Right. That's
and
true
they
too.
might feel differently.
Yeah.
So
that's true too.
Sometimes you have to it's your situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, bottom line, if you've got a choice of casinos, and sometimes you don't, right? If you live in an area where there's only one casino, what can you do? Right. But if you're in Vegas or someplace with a lot of casinos, stay where you're being treated nicely, being treated well from a comp standpoint and just service. Yeah.
Yeah. And my advice to Jacob would be don't give up on Caesar's and Harrah's and
just
the Caesar's properties.
Find the Caesar properties that where they treat you right.
Yeah, because there are plenty of them that do.
Yeah.
So
anyway, thanks for the email, Jacob. We met up with one of our listeners, Greg, at Rincon a little while back.
Right.
And he travels around the country quite a bit. He was telling us about a game that he had seen kind of up around in the Dakotas called Silverado Stud Poker. And we had never heard of it before. It's a table game. It's not traditional poker, it's a table game. And one of those carnival games. And so I asked him to send us the information. When we were talking to him, he wasn't exactly sure of the name of it. But it's called Silverado Stud Poker, and he sent us the description of it. It's actually a game that's been around for about 8 years, but it's only in a few casinos, like up in the Dakotas, Iowa, Minnesota.
Yeah, now my wife's from the Iowa, Minnesota area.
Yeah.
She has family in both Iowa and Minnesota. So the next time I'm back there, I'm going to try and go to one of those casinos.
Okay.
And play this and see if I can find it.
And check it out. Yeah.
Yeah. There's one that's, within an hour and a half drive of her mom's house.
It's a very simple game, and I'll put a link to the official website so you can look at it. But it's very simple. We'll talk about it just briefly. You're playing basically a 5-card poker hand and a 3-card poker hand. And the 3-card poker hand, it's very similar to 3-card poker rules where, you have just a pair or a flush, straight, right? A straight is better than a flush. Similar 3-card poker rules. But here's how it works. Before any cards are dealt, and again, you're just playing against the dealer. All the players at the table are playing against the dealer. Before any cards are dealt, you as a player make a bet on a circle that says 5-card bet and a circle that says 3-card bet. And those bets have to be the same amount. So if you're betting $10, you put $10 on the 5-card bet, $10 on the 3-card bet. Then every player is given 4 cards. And the players look at their cards, and there are 2 spots on the table where they can place cards. One says 5-card and one says 3-card. So you take 3 of the cards that you're dealt and you put them in the 5-card box.
Okay.
You take the 4th card just by itself and you put it in the 3-card box.
All right.
Okay. And then the dealer deals 2 community cards in front of himself. Okay.
One for each.
So no, it's going to be a combination. So the idea here is that you're going to make your 5-card hand using the 3 cards you've put in the 5-card box.
Oh, and
the 2 community cards.
Right.
And you'll make your 3-card hand using the 1 card you've put in the 3-card box and the 2 community cards.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay. So you split them up, and the dealer flips over the first community card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then at that point, you as a player have an option to raise just the 5-card hand. The same amount that you bet.
Oh, you can't raise the 3-card hand?
No, just the 5-card hand.
Because if you had an ace in your 3-card hand and the ace was the first card he flipped over, you'd already have a winning hand.
You'd already have a pair. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you'd want to raise that.
But you can't on the 3-card hand. It's only on the 5-card hand.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because if you had a pair right off the bat, it pays even money, and if you could raise it anything, you'd put your life savings out there because you're going to win.
But you can only bet your initial amount. You can't raise any amount.
Right,
it's only what the initial bet was.
You can only match your initial bet.
Right. So yeah, now so if you've got a good hand, you might put that raise out there because you're going to get paid based on a pay table. That for the 5-card hand, you're going to get paid if you have a pair of queens or better, and for the 3-card, you're going to get paid if you have a pair or better. Okay. So you have the option to make the raise, and then the dealer turns over the second community card, and then anybody who wins gets paid, right? Okay. So again,
your 3-card hand, the amount you bet, you're stuck with that. You never get to raise that?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, exactly.
All right.
So, you'll probably have a better idea of how your 5-card hand is going to go because maybe you've already got a pair before you see the community cards.
Right. You might get trips right off the bat.
Right. Exactly. Something like that. Yeah. And I won't go through the whole pay table, but you get paid odds based on how good your hand is. Right. So again, if you have like a pair of queens or better, you get even money all the way up to a royal flush on the 5-card hand is 500 to 1. And, similar payouts for the 3-card hand, not as much, of course.
Huge house edge on that, 500 to 1.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, especially since it's only 5 cards.
Right. Exactly. It's way harder than 500 to 1.
And so that's as simple as it is. You get these cards to start with, you split it up into what's going to become a 5-card hand and what's going to become a 3-card hand. And then after the first community card is revealed, you have the option of raising. And then it just gets paid at odds. And I'll post a link to the website so everybody can see.
Sounds
the pay
like
tables.
one of those games that after I put my cards down and then I see the first card, I'll be mad at myself because I put the wrong card in the 3-card hand.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, you put that one card, in the 3-card hand, and then, it turns out, oh shoot, if I had kept, the 7 in the 3-card hand,
right, I
would have had a pair of 7s, right? Or so whatever. I couldn't find any, not at the Wizard of Odds or any place else, an analysis of the game for basic strategy or anything. It's just it's the game. It's in kind of such a small area in the United States, but
it seems like it'd be hard to figure out a basic strategy for this because it's like you said. I mean, you kept a 7 of diamonds in your 5-card hand, and then turns out if you had put it in your 3-card hand, you would have,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe, somebody can figure it out. Steve Howe or Wizard of Odds or something. It's not that complicated, but yeah, you do have 4 cards that you need to, and I guess if you've got 3 suited cards, you'd want to keep those together, things
right,
like
of course,
that.
Right.
The issue is with the 3-card hand. It's like, what do you put in the 3-card hand? It's whatever garbage you have is what you put in the 3-card hand, right? Because you only get paid if you have a pair or better. An ace doesn't do you any good.
No.
So I guess that would be a simple basic strategy here without us running any math or anything. It's just, see if any 3 cards work together. Yeah, just, whatever's the throwaway card, get rid of that, right?
Right.
So, anyway, so that's what's it called?
5-3.
It's called Silverado stud poker. And thanks, Greg, for pointing that out.
Should be called 5-3.
5-3?
5-3.
That's clear. Yeah.
Make it easier. I'm playing some 5-3.
Hi, this is Mitch.
And this is Dr. Kev. We're the hosts of the Tipping the Odds Las Vegas podcast, your source for news and reviews about all things Las Vegas. You are listening to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler.
That's a bet you won't lose.
All right, let's move on to our poker home game segment. This is the segment of the show where we talk about poker games that you're not going to find in the poker room at a casino, but that you might play with your buddies when you get together for a poker home game. And tonight we're going to talk about wild cards going both ways.
Now, they don't play this in Washington State.
As far as I know,
it's illegal.
Yeah, they didn't explicitly say that this is a game you can play. They said you can play Silverado stud poker in your home.
Right.
You can play war in your home.
You can play guts high-low.
Right. No Texas Hold'em. No Omaha.
Oh.
All right. Wild cards going both ways. This used to be the game of choice of our good friend Warren, who used to come to our home game. He doesn't come anymore. He's well into his 80s
Yeah,
now.
he's 88.
Is he?
His birthday was he just had his 88th birthday.
Okay. So we haven't seen him in the home game in a while. But when he used to come, in fact, we even used to have our home game at his house.
Right.
He used to call this game all the time. And this is actually a very simple game to explain, but it's a kind of game that can kind of mess you up, especially when you first learn it. Wild cards going both way. It's a high-low declare game. It is 7-card stud. So it is dealt, and the betting is just like 7-card stud. However you deal 7-card stud in your home game, it deals exactly the same. At the end of the game, all players who are still in are going to have 3 down cards and 4 up cards. 7-card stud.
7-card stud.
Right? Here's how the game works. Of your 3 down cards, your lowest one of those 3 is wild for you for high.
Only.
Right. And the highest of those 3 down cards is wild for you for low.
Only.
Right.
So now, my next
and
question.
all like it. So let's say your 3 cards are like 2, 7, queen. All twos are wild for you for high.
For your high hand.
Right. So if you have, if some of your up cards are deuces.
Yeah. You got an extra wild card.
You got more wild cards. Okay. But to determine the wild card, you're only looking at the down cards.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
2 things to remember. And same in Mark's example, same thing. Your queen would be wild for low.
Yes.
And any queens you have up would be wild as well.
For
to
low.
make your low hand.
Yes.
2 things to note.
Yes.
1, if you're playing 2s wild for high, your queens are not also wild for high.
Right.
And that screws people up. Right?
It does.
Because they always say, oh, my low and my high card are both wild. Well, no. Only the 2s are wild in your high hand.
Yep.
Only the queens are wild in your low hand.
Right.
The other card doesn't matter. It just plays as a queen or a 2.
That's right. And we almost, whenever we explain this game to a new player, they almost always at some point say, oh, I've got the wheel and I've got a straight flush. It's like, well, you've got the wheel, but you don't have a straight flush because, your king is wild for your low, but it's a different card is wild for your high, right? So, you've got to be real careful about that.
And then the other thing is, how do you handle aces?
Oh, okay. So, in our game, we say that aces cannot be wild, are neither high nor low for the purpose of being wild.
Right.
Unless all 3 of your down cards are aces.
Right. If you only had 3 aces, then your aces are wild.
Right.
But if you have had an ace, a 2, and a queen, 2 is wild for high.
Yep.
Queen is wild for low.
Yep.
Your ace doesn't matter.
Right.
That's just how we choose it. I mean,
that's a good rule, I think.
It's a very good rule.
Yeah.
But you could play it where, ace was low.
You could if you want. In our game, another example, let's say you had 3 ace as your down cards.
Right.
3s are wild for high and 3s are wild for low.
Right.
Because of our ace rule.
Because of our ace rule. Only until you have 3 aces would an ace come into play.
Yeah. So a lot of the game is just trying to figure out what you have.
Right.
Oh, which way should I go? Should I go low? Should I go high? Because remember we said it's a high-low declare game. And that's what kind of messes people up is like, give me a second. I need to figure out what I actually have.
Right. And a lot of times the best way to do that is just figure out your low hand, then figure out your high hand.
Yeah, don't try to figure them out at the same time. It's like, okay, concentrate on low. What's wild?
Right.
What do I have?
And then decide which of those two is the best way for you to go.
Yep.
If you don't, maybe you go both ways.
Yep.
But if you're going to go one way, figure out. And typically in that game, the wheel's going to win low.
Yes.
A lot of times.
Yep. Big hands.
A 64, maybe sometimes.
Maybe. Yep.
And then, for high, a lot of times it's 4 of a kind.
4 of a kind or better. Yeah. Because think about it. Every player at the table has a wild card for high and a wild card for low.
At least one wild
So
card.
you need to look around the table as the cards start coming out, especially for low. And you've got somebody and he's got, deuce 3-4 showing. Well, he's probably going to make the wheel.
Probably already
right?
got the wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the high hand, it's a little trickier, but, keep an eye on that. Really, big hands are going to win this game, and like any game like this, get out early. If you really don't have big hand potential either way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about this hand, it's kind of scary because you only get 2 down cards initially.
Right.
So you could have a 3 and a queen, and you could the whole time thinking, and then maybe you get a 3 up.
Right. So
you're thinking, oh, I've got 3 queens. Yeah. Well, then your last card's a deuce. Now you've got 3 3s.
Yeah. Right.
So that last card, it can really.
That's right. That's a good point. I'm glad you said that. That last card can change your wild card in either direction.
Right.
Let's say you've got Jack deuce down, right?
Right.
And, you've got a Jack up, right? And so then, you say, oh, I've got the wheel, maybe an ace up, something like that.
Your last card's a queen.
Last card's a queen. Now queen's wild for low.
Right.
So don't go low. You've got 4 of a kind jacks now for high, but, but you've got to remember that is it can change your hand. That last card can change what your wild card is. Unless, of course, your wild card is a deuce or a king. Then in that case, it's not going to change. That's going to stay. Right. But that can happen. That can really mess you up. It's like, I had 4 of a kind till the river, and then
probably the worst thing is
to
get mediocre cards. For your first 2 down cards are 7 and 8.
Right.
Or 6 and 7.
Because something's going to change.
Because something's going to change, right?
Exactly. So, all right. So that's wild cards going both ways. If anybody has a home game they'd like us to talk about on the show, drop us a line at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com.
We haven't had that segment in a while, in a couple episodes.
Yeah.
But we still plan on doing it occasionally.
Yeah, every once in a while, because some people like it. Some people, kind of zone out. It's like, oh, I don't play poker. I don't have a home game. But it's one of the things we like to talk about because there's really no other podcast that's talking about these goofy games that, recreational poker players play at home games.
Right. When we're at a craps table, that's what we're doing. We're talking to each other about new poker games we're going to invent and stuff, and making fun of other players and making fun of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's our 3 things we do.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to. That's what we're trying to present in the podcast. Just how we
our lives.
Our lives. Yeah. Also, on the left-hand side of our homepage, under categories, there's a link called Poker Home Games. If you click on that, it will take you to a page that lists all the home games we've talked about and the episodes on which we talked about them. So that's going to do it for this episode of You Can Bet on That. Mm-hmm. Thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first, youcanbetonThat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover the costs of hosting the show, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You'll pay the same price just like normal.
And some of the money is going to go to fight the Washington State Gaming Commission.
Yeah. We should just funnel it straight there. We've got friends in Washington.
We're going to start a little kitty. We're going to get on them.
Be sure to download our app for your mobile device. You'll get access to all our episodes, quick links to contact us via Twitter, Facebook, and email, and you get bonus audio. Like we said earlier, the bonus audio for this week, we continue talking about our experience at the craps table this weekend.
Yep.
With our app, you'll also get TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. I update those listings every Wednesday using a program I wrote myself to search through all the raw American TV data. The bonus audio and the TV listings are only available on our app. To download it, go to our webpage, youcanbetonThat.com, and on the left-hand side of the page, click on the link that says How to Download Our App. We have a link for Android devices and another one for iPhones and iPads. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us with questions and comments at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com, or you can leave us a short voice message by going to our webpage and clicking on Send Us a Voice Message. That'll open up a dialogue where you can leave a message up to 90 seconds long using the microphone on your computer or mobile device. Also follow us on Twitter at You Can Bet On That. We always tweet when we're in a casino or on our way to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. In fact, if people were following us this weekend, they already knew that we had those good rolls out there and that, it was kind of exciting. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. Dr. Mike, final words.
Well, you're probably going to put this on the air Thursday.
Yeah, probably go up Thursday, February 13th.
Right. So if anyone hears this right away before Saturday evening, please email us. Let me know what we need to do Saturday morning to ensure good luck on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's a good,
I'm sure people got some ideas.
Let's hear them.
All have to be legal, number one.
Oh.
And I prefer to keep my clothes on for most of them.
Well, that I agree with. All right, thanks, everybody. We'll see you again.
Good night.